Welcome back to another episode of NBA by Jellyman here on Monday, March the 27th. Looking at this week once again, player and team consistencies, the upcoming week preview, and then best bets for tomorrow, Tuesday the 28th of March. Cracking straight into it, the Hawks. Trae Young, 25 plus points in 10 of his last 11 games. The Hawks also 236 plus total points in their last 7 games. So as usual, looking at player points over in those games. The Celtics, they've actually won their last 3 games by 20 plus points. Tatum, 34 plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. And then Jaylen Brown, 25 plus points in his last 7 games. For the Nets, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games. And for Bridges, so Mikal Bridges, 23 plus points in 8 of his last 9 games. A few big games across his last couple as well. For the Bulls, they've actually won 5 of their last 6 games, and now they're with back in playoff contention. Looking at the Cavaliers, they've won 6 of their last 7 games. Jarrett Allen, 10 plus rebounds in his last 5 games. For the Nuggets, Joker, 24 plus points in 7 of his last 8, and Murray been assisting well of late, 6 plus assists in his last 6 games. For the Clippers, Kawhi, 24 plus points in 6 of his last 8 games. As mentioned, PG out at the moment, so look at Leonard's points over. The Grizzlies, they've actually won 9 of their last 10 games, so on a streak at the moment, as well with Jar back, so look for that to only improve. Desmond Bane, 20 plus points in 5 of his last 6 games. For the Heat, Butler, 23 plus points in 9 of his last 10 games. He did have a streak of 9 straight, but that ended last game. SGA, 29 plus points in 11 of his last 12 games. Something we had to look into there was actually having SGA total points, or his points over, a certain mark, say 30 plus points, and then the total match points under. It sort of boosted some odds up there. The Suns, Booker, 29 plus points in 5 of his last 6 games. For the Sixers, Maxey, 21 plus points in 6 of his last 7 games. And last but not least, for the Raptors, Van Vliet's been playing well, 23 plus points in 5 of his last 7, 6 plus assists in 14 of his last 15 games. The upcoming week preview, so looking at Tuesday's games, having a look into the Mavericks at the Pacers, the Mavs need a win, also potentially without Luka, so looking at Kyrie Irving points. The Suns at the Jazz, the Suns have actually been poor away from home, but they need a win still. The Sixers versus the Nuggets, so I guess 1v2 in the MVP race, whoever you have at number 1 there. The Pelicans at the Blazers, so the Pelicans obviously needing a win. Portland actually resting most of their starters now. The Wolves at the Kings, and the Bulls at the Clippers, both games to watch as well. The Wolves needing a win to potentially leapfrog the Warriors in that playoff position. Also with Towns back as well, and Edwards, look for them to make a run towards the back end of the season. Wednesday's games, the Celtics at the Wizards. So the Celtics actually won their last 3 games, as mentioned before, by 20 plus points. So looking for them to smash Washington. The Cavs at the Hawks. The Hawks need a win, but obviously the Cavs doing what the Cavs do. Also moving to the next game would be the Heat at the Raptors. So obviously both teams need a win. The Heat are average at home, away from home, and the Raptors are super good at home. So it'll be a good contest in that one. Looking at the Hornets at the Thunder, so OKC needing a win there. The Hornets surprised the Mavericks in their last 2 games as well. And the Pelicans, the Warriors, obviously both teams needing a win, but Golden State being strong at home, but just losing to Minnesota, which should be an interesting bounce back game for them. For Thursday's games, so the Rockets at the Nets, obviously the Nets needing a win, dropping 6 of the last 7 or 5 of the last 6, whatever that was earlier. Heat at the Knicks, so both sides close to one another. The Heat actually winning the last matchup between these squads. Mavericks at the Sixers, so Luka will return from that 1-game suspension and look to dominate the Sixers, but Philadelphia should be too good. And the Lakers at the Bulls, round 2 there. Bit of Pat Bev dribble is what we like to say. The Clippers at the Grizzlies, so Grizzlies dominance at home, and the Wolves at the Suns as well. That'll be an interesting matchup there. Friday's games, so the Celtics at the Bucks, so obviously high-end Eastern Conference teams. The Pelicans at the Nuggets, so the only 2 games on the Friday, but both quality games there. Ingram points over looks at a good one. Topic 3, so Tuesday, 28th of March, best bets. So looking at the Mavericks at the Pacers, Irving points over, so Kyrie points over. He's actually had 28 plus points in 5 of his last 8 matchups against Indiana. And obviously with no Luka tomorrow, he'll need to be scoring for the Mavericks. The Rockets at the Knicks, so look at the Knicks head-to-head, potentially their line as well. They've actually won by 20 and 13 in the last 2 matchups against Houston. The Suns at the Jazz, so Suns obviously head-to-head, but the last 4 games have actually been within 6 points or less. So an interesting one there. And then Booker, 29 plus points in 5 of his last 6 games as mentioned. He's actually had 30 plus points in 7 of his last 8 matchups against Utah as well. So Devin Booker points over, Suns head-to-head or a close matchup there, even with the Jazz not having all those dominant people in for them at the moment. The Sixers and the Nuggets are looking at Embiid points over. He had 47 and 18 in the last matchup against Denver, and then 34 and 9 in the prior matchup prior to that one. Maxey, 21 plus points in 6 of his last 7 games. He had 13 and 19 in the last 2 matchups against the Nuggets, but then 22, 13 and 39 points. So has scored well against Denver in past matchups. The Pelicans at the Blazers, so the Pelicans head-to-head obviously needing that win. But then Ingram, 26 plus points in his last 5 games, but then he had 40 points at Portland against the Blazers in his last matchup there. So Ingram points over, Pelicans head-to-head looks good in that matchup. The Timberwolves at the Kings, so Wolves plus line. The Wolves actually won in Sacramento earlier this month. And then the Bulls at the Clippers, Bulls plus line. LaVine points as well. He's only had 18 and 21 points in the last 2 matchups against the Clippers, but prior to that, 29, 26, 45, 31, 31, 29. So has had some big scoring outings both in LA and against the Clippers there. That's all for this week. As we always mention, feel free to like, follow, and subscribe. If you've got any more questions, feel free to shoot them through. Good luck for this week ahead of NBA punting.